This is the saga of Cleo. I'm going to post a lot of videos over the next couple months of our journey together. She is an 11-year-old Morgan mare who came into training with me the 1st of October. Today is the 14th of November. We've done a lot of long lines. We've done a lot of walk trot under saddle. We tried cantering one time. It was a disaster. So we moved back to only walk trot under saddle and long lines until we got her comfortable cantering and long lines. So join me in our adventures with Cleo over the next several months of getting her to be a healthy, happy, sound mind and body, beautiful girl that she should be. Unlike some of my other training videos, this is basically going to be a narration. I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So we're going to start off the way today started off. Get on and walk. Now this video was actually shot several weeks ago, but what we do always is get on and walk, and you can see immediately she's rooting in the bit. You've noticed this in her long line video. You will notice this in most all of her videos. This is part of her anxious, frustrated little self. She wants to pull the reins out of your hand. She wants to pull and escape any pressure on the bit. She wants to, just be her sassy self. And this is a learned behavior. This is not stemming from pain. Her sweet, sweet owner spent a small fortune having her checked out from top to bottom, and there's not a thing wrong with this mare. She is a little sassy, and unfortunately, the only thing wrong with her is humans and what they have done. She has fallen into the hands of well-meaning but very amateur people who have just created an anxious and frustrated horse. You can see her just trying to pull those reins right out of my hands. All I'm asking her to do here is bend. When she gets a little anxious, I ask her to bend and move her back seat just a little bit. So I want her to step underneath with that inside hind leg. So in this case, her right hind. I just want her to step underneath and relax and bend her body and move her feet. This should be a very relaxing, stretching, horsey yoga type movement, but as you can see with her, it's anxiety ridden. We want to pull that bit down, we want to root our face down, and we just don't want to be soft and give and everything else. So that's fine. This is what we're working through. So I ask her to kind of move away from my leg down that rail, and you can see her resist with her head and her tail. Yes, we're in Florida. No, the bugs are not that bad. That is her kicking at my foot. That is not a fly. She doesn't want me to bring my legs in and ask her to leg yield and ask her to move her body parts. She would rather just walk in a kind of a rushed fashion and root her face down to the ground. And so when you ask her for things, well, she's not shy with her opinion. She will give you her opinion. She is a sass, and I love it. She is so smart. She is so kind. This is one of the sweetest mares you'll ever meet until you get on her back. And she's still very kind. She's just full of anxiety and frustration. So we're going to take the next couple of months and try and work on that. With her, it's a mental game. Yes, she needs to build strength. Yes, she needs to build balance. But with her, it's a mental game. As I've mentioned, her goal is to be a Western Morgan. Well, let me take that back. Her goal is to be a happy, sound, sane girl that enjoys her job with her rider. That's our goal. With that being said, obviously a healthy horse is our ultimate goal. We would like her to be a Western Pleasure Morgan. You can see I'm writing her English because, as I mentioned in the long line video, it's not how slow you go, it's how you go slow. And if you don't have a horse who understands true collection, you're going to have a horse that has a trashy canter, that has what a lot of people jokingly call a walk jog, not a 2-beat gait, not a 3-beat lope. And you have these horses that break down and they have trouble and they're getting injections and they need all sorts of special shoeing because they're not moving right. And where, yes, some of that is important. These horses are athletes and they need to be treated as such. Some of it is a little bit overkill, and it's due to, be mad at me if you want to, poor training. You know, if you're not taking care of your horse and doing right by your horse, a lot of these things happen. So what we're going to do with Miss Cleo, because that has happened to her, she does not have any injections or any soundness problems, but we want to keep her that way. Right now, her soundness issue is her brain. You can see with that tail, and you could see by her kicking at my foot earlier and her rooting in the bit, she has a nice, fat, French link, easy snaffle. There should be no reason for the rooting. And the only reason there is because of past, quote, trainers, unquote, that were just not that nice to her mouth. Now you can see she's starting to think about jogging, but you can see that it's not really a true jog. It gets to be a 2-beat, and then it kind of falls apart, and then it gets to be a 2-beat, and then it kind of falls apart, which is why we do a lot of trotting to kind of get back to a 2-beat gait and show her that pushing forward is not a bad thing. She falls apart in the corners because she loses her balance. This is the same reason why we don't canter under saddle yet, because she's not strong enough to maintain balance. And you can see her go through a walk and a jog and a walk and a jog. And she's just learning. Up until a month and 10 days ago, she had never been asked to do any of this. And where she can do it, and she can do it really pretty, her brain says, oh my goodness, you're going to do something, you're going to yank on my face, you're going to pull on me, so I'm prepared. And I'm going to swish my tail, and I'm going to pull on your hands, and I'm going to let you know that you're not going to do that to me. And I just keep a very soft rein, a very quiet hand, and I just let her work it through herself. I don't need to get involved in her drama. All of this is all her drama. Then we come down to a walk, and I will give her a very loose rein. Oh, apparently not. Apparently we're still thinking about jogging, but she doesn't really want to. There we go. You can see the difference. You can see when she has a little bit of rhythm in the jog, and you can see when it looks funny. And so we push forward. If you're going to struggle with that jog, we're going to push forward, because forward is always your friend. Get back to a true 2-beat. Get back to her lifting up her back. Get back to her pushing with her back end. Then you can come back to a jog. If I tried to make this horse jog right now, she would have one of those trashy jogs in a minute. I like to do a lot of circles with my horses. I like to do a lot of straight lines. I don't always use the rail. We do figure eights, we do 20-meter circles, we do center lines, we do diagonal lines, we do serpentines. Getting her to build muscle and learn how to balance comes from asking her to do things that make her balance. You can see me raise my inside hand, my right hand, because she wants to fall in as we come through that corner. So I raise my hand to block that shoulder, get her to stand up. Now I've asked her to walk, and I've rewarded her with the loose rein. So if you look, through all of her head struggles and all of her trying to root, she is literally on the buckle. There is zero pressure on her whatsoever, and she's still rooting. I gather her reins. Again, I ask her to bend through the corner. She resists by rooting, and I just keep asking. How do you deal with a kid having a temper tantrum? Do you give in to it, or do you just ignore them and continue on? When you have a frustrated, anxious horse, you cannot blow up. You cannot get mad. You cannot make this a bigger deal than what it is. What is she doing? She's rooting on the bit. Okay, we'll fix it. But we don't have to fix it right this second. What we have to do this second is get her happy with a human on her back. So you'll see me bump her, like right there. When she does that, I bumped her, and then we just go on. If I'm asking her to stand up and turn, and she roots, or she wants to drop her shoulders, I don't quit doing it because she didn't do it right. We continue to do it until I'm satisfied that she's doing what I asked her to do. She gets a pat on the neck, a good girl. I leave her alone. We stop the movement. There, she pulled on me. I pulled on her. We continue on our way. Down to the buckle. Super loose reins. And look, she's still rooting. It is a horrible habit and one that's very, very hard to break. But it will break as we go along. The goal is to have a happy, healthy horse. We have a lot bigger fish to fry with this mare than worrying about her rooting in the bit. You can see her get anxious and start walking really quickly. She knew I was going to ask her to step up into a jog, and you can see her anxiety. Now we've stepped into a jog. She's starting to figure out what her job is, but she's still not sure. And she's still waiting for me to get mad at her and get after her. And I'm not going to. Why? We're learning. If you went into a classroom full of kids and got mad at them when they asked questions, or got mad at them when they didn't understand the lesson plan, or got mad at them because their last teacher used to get mad at them and yell at them all the time, and you get mad at them for being anxious about that, what are you doing? You have to take the anxious, frustrated horse and create a safe place. The arena and somebody on her back has always been a bad place. Now we're changing that. We're not training, we're retraining. And that's a lot harder. It's harder to unlearn than it is to just learn. Stopping and standing is another important lesson. Walking on a loose rein, walking in general, stopping and standing, being respectful, having manners, and being calm. These are all very important things when you're training an anxious, frustrated horse. Lots of praise. You don't have to give them cookies. I do a lot of talking. I do a lot of petting. That's just me. Obviously, I like to talk. All right, guys. Until next time, have a good ride.